Hello friends, it's Terry with Terry's Mailbox. I'm presenting for the Funky Junkie Boutique. The theme for this session is Icy and Cold, and we want you to do anything that's snowflakes, icy tones, etc. So again, you're challenged by doing something icy cold. So again, I'm starting with Winston. He is a new die that I just got my hands on, and I cut out a bunch of the pieces here out of distress watercolor paper so that I could then ink smoosh and watercolor it. And here's the background that I created using blue alcohol inks on Yupo paper. So I used Pool Sailboat Blue, for example, and again just kind of dropped them on there and used the hand blower to move them around. So now I've moved on to coloring some of the pieces here, and I'm going to use this same technique for most of the pieces. So again, I kind of squish my distress ink pads onto my craft mat and dip the pieces in. So for his hat, I'm using black soot and hickory smoke distress inks. I did end up swiping the pad directly across that hat base later before I assembled them to get a little bit deeper color on that. So again, here I am kind of swiping the body through tumbled glass ink that's on my craft mat. And now we'll move on to the scarf pieces. And so I'm using salvage patina and evergreen bough for these pieces here. And I'm just kind of moving along and ink smooshing, and obviously we'll let them dry completely before we put them together. I ended up doing 2 Winstons. Again, when you're doing these colorized dies, I think it's just as easy to go ahead and do multiple. So I decided to go ahead and do 2, and I ended up using one for this project, and I'm sending the other one down to my grandsons in the warm weather in the south, so they don't get to see snow. So I'm going to send them a snowman. So again, here I'm finishing up with the darker color. Although I wasn't happy in the end and made it even darker, and I'll show you that in a little while. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out that alcohol inked background, and I'm going to die cut it using this Arctic die. It's a background die, and it doesn't have the outline die, which makes it very easy to do large pieces, such as this alcohol inked piece. So once I cut out half of it, you can see here I'm punching out all of the snowflakes. And I'll even get my poker tool out here in a minute to finish getting all the little pieces out there. And I'm kind of setting those aside. I will hang on to those. I don't know, I may use them in some other future project. So I'm just going to continue poking them out, and you can see here I've grabbed my official poker tool to get all of those little tiny pieces out. And the next thing I did is I went ahead and lined the die up on that right hand half of this piece so that I could have a complete snowy cutout background. And so here's that whole background, and again I'm just kind of finishing getting the snowflakes out of there. And then here I cut some trees out using the tall pines. It's also a new die, and I cut it out of a paper that I had added glitter to with a glitter duster so that it was kind of sparkly. So here I am putting together the scarves and the layering things using my glue with the needle nose tip on it. So we'll go ahead and put those all together. Just kind of gluing. Lots of gluing going on, huh? When you have these colorized dies, you do have a lot of pieces to put together. But I think that plastic tray that I keep mine organized in really helps to kind of keep them straight so that I know where the pieces are and which ones, I kind of keep what goes together so that I can easily find them. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get that scarf on there, and then I'm going to add that carrot nose on. And because I'm using the watercolor paper, it is pretty thick. I want to put an angle, which is cool. So I focused more on adding glue for where the base is hung up over the scarf. And so what I ended up doing was adding the carrot nose, and then I grabbed a clothespin because I just wanted it to be sure that it got adhered to that base really well. And then I just kind of set them aside and let them dry. So now I'm back to the hats, and I decided he needed a band, a colored band on the hat. So I went ahead and just cut a piece of watercolor paper and colored it with a marker, and then added water using just a paintbrush. And so then we'll go ahead and glue that on the hat. And then I also decided to use that same darker turquoise marker to add darker colors to the top piece of that scarf. I didn't think it was quite dark enough, so I went ahead and added, as you can see, I'm using a marker there. So the next thing I need to do is cut that piece of alcohol ink paper. So I'm kind of looking for where can I sacrifice and cut off part of the background so that I get the most color on that tag. And again, you see I'm using a tag again. This one is actually painted with white gesso. So you'll see the white peeking through. So again, I got my trimmer out here and just trimmed the piece down. After I marked it, obviously, with the pencil, you saw me kind of running around with the pencil. So again, I'll go ahead and trim this. And then when I get it all trim, I pulled out my collage medium brush and my collage medium and just put it on the back of the piece of Yupo paper here that had been alcohol inked. And so then I'm going to pick that up and add that to the front of the tag. I'll kind of scoot it here to the middle, and then I ended up grabbing just a brayer to be sure that I had good adhesion. And then obviously I'll have to set this aside to dry. This has taken me a while to get this whole tag put together just because of the drying time. So here I am with those tall pines, and I've got them cut out of just plain white cardstock, and then I went ahead and I have the glittery ones as well. So I'm using my collage medium squeeze bottle, which I use a lot for these kind of projects. It really is a great adhesive. So again, I kind of separated out one of the trees here. And then I'm going to go ahead and add them. I've got the plain trees, or the ones on the white cardstock at the back, and then I added the glittery ones up at the front. Just making sure I've got enough room there for Winston. He's kind of the focal point of this whole project. So then we'll go ahead and put those glittery trees on there, and then I'll go ahead and slap an acrylic block on top just to add some weight to help it dry. And so again, after letting that dry for a little while, I pulled out Winston, and I'm going to go ahead and glue him there on the front. I did add, I colored the little buttons and his eyeballs with a black alcohol pen, and then I added glossy accents on the front of the buttons for dimension and bling. And so the final thing I did was I had 3 little winter strips there from Tim Holtz on the front. And so again, this is Terry with Terry's Mailbox. And again, I'm on Blogger, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I'd love to have you come and subscribe. Have a great day.